Here's some brake drums. If you really want to call them brake drums, they look more like boat anchors. But again, it's part of the heavy duty parts that we do have for trucks of all different vintages. And the stuff there behind us is doors and tailgates and bigger pieces, doors themselves, and some more bumpers, bumper covers, so forth. These are more of the metal tubs that we talked about earlier. There are 2 rows here, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 rows over there. There's 250 of these tubs. It's just raw weight by the pound, and it could be anything in any of them. And the inventory shows you what metal tub it's in and what quadrant of that tub that you can find it in. These are some more metal tubs that are part of the 250 that are around the building. And again, it's sectioned into 4 pieces, and you can hopefully find what you need in one of the sections. And over here is, we bought a company out of Apache Junction, Arizona, called Dealer Auto Parts. The fellow who ran it passed away, and his wife wanted to get rid of the business, and so we went out there with myself and another fellow that worked here, and we went out and loaded 4 trailer loads of parts in a week, brought them back here, unloaded them exactly the same way that they had them out there. So our inventory and their inventory was matched together within the first day that we got it all put up. Then when we got these 4 put away, we went back out and got the other 4. So there was a total of 8 semi-loads of parts from this Dealer Auto Parts. Now that was the smaller of the 2 buys. Prior to this one by 4 or 5 years, Dealer Auto Parts up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Fairboat, he wanted to divest himself of his operation. So we bought all the parts that he had up there. It was an interesting buy because we staged a semi, he would load it and ship it down. They would stage another one, and he loaded it and so forth, and it just was a continuous feed till the whole thing was moved from up there down here. And it was I don't remember, but it's probably 20, 30 semi-loads, something of that nature. You know, when you say it fast, it don't sound like much. Here we're coming into the other building. We're leaving the original building or the building that was built in the 60s, 70s, and this particular building here that we're in, which had all the metal and so forth in it, was built in 1942. It was finished in 42, and it was made. The government confiscated all the property from Roselawn Park all the way to Langdon Farm, which is probably a half a mile, and took the property from the folks who owned it and turned it into a war complex. They operated it for 90 days, and then they walked away from it. The war was over. So the building was basically never used for government use.
How long have you been in the building?
We moved in '93, and we were over on the west side of town in some rental property, and it was an interesting story. That I had to drive by here twice a day going over there and back, and I always looked at this property and wanted it and so on and so forth, but it was never for sale. Well, the rental business evidently got in a bad way, so some elderly fellow called me, and I always got half a dozen calls or more a year on the program, and he said that this building was rentable. Did we want to rent anything? And I said, I went off on the guy because that was the last I wanted to hear, you know. And I said, unless that whatever it is for sale, leave me alone. I hung up on him. And it wasn't but about a month later, the same fella calls me back, and he says, the building is for sale. And I said, what building? He says, the one you want to buy. And I said, oh, okay, how much is it? He tells me how much it was, and I said, there's no way that's worth that. He hangs up on me. So I'm thinking, now what? You know? So it wasn't, but a few days later he calls me back, and we get together on it, and the rest is history. But that's how there's this building and that building, and they're separate walls and everything, but they're actually two buildings together here. It's over 120,000 square feet, both pieces plus what we'll see downstairs. This is just part of our memorabilia. This sign and so forth came from Rush Motors in Columbus, Ohio, just east of Columbus. And they went out of business, and we went up to the auction and purchased them.
So where are we going now? This looks a little scary down here.
This is the access to the basement I was talking about. There's a ramp that goes down, and this is where those 87 concrete piers, which aren't really piers, they're bats, and they pretty much fill up the basement. But we do use it for storage, and you can see back there, we put them in between these are actually hollow vats. And it's, again, 400 feet to the back like it is up on the top, same as the other building. And when you get down to the center, there's a boiler room and so forth to take care of the heat and this, that, and the other, but there never was a boiler, and I don't think there was ever any coal in the two coal pens that was going to service the building. So it's kind of difficult to inventory stuff down here, but you do the best you can with what you got to work with.